density mix from medium to medium high to low to medium to single family.
Now, was that something that the city wanted to do, or did the development community say, hey, we want to build a lower density?
Well, I think it was both, but I mean, I know certainly from the city, like, and I've talked about this before, I think, in here, that, you know, I think having a more strategic focus in some of those areas, going with the lower densities, and then going with the higher densities closer to BART. You see that with Avalon, you see that with the Veterans Housing Project, which we just approved the other night at the old Crown Chevrolet dealership right off Dublin Boulevard, for low-income veterans, which also provides services for low-income veterans, and doing that type of housing right on the BART line where they have access to education, access to jobs, access to services.
I think that's an applause point. That's an applause point. And, you know, this is what's great about having you come here, is that, you know, people will bash on Dublin, and here you are, you're doing something for veterans. I mean, this group will tell you how difficult it is for VA loans to get accepted and whatnot, and you guys are actually doing something great, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, you know, and again, so I mean, I think it's trying to find the price in the market for everyone, and I think when you look at the housing stock in Dublin, it really is all different income levels. We have medium density product, Emerald Vista, you heard referenced. That's another project which was Arroyo Vista, which was a HUD development, all low income, and now we have a mixed income community, you know, some seniors, some family living, some for sale, some market rate, beautifully designed. Just the whole look and feel of that Doherty Road corridor has completely changed with the partnership with Eden Housing and KB. Citation was in there originally, and KB took it over. But I mean, so really trying to do a lot of different price points. And that's what we feel. We have a 1-to-1 jobs housing ratio in the city of Dublin, which is a real point of pride for us. Because a lot of cities, you get that skewed too much, where it's too much housing and not enough jobs, or too many jobs and not enough housing. That's where you get the commutes, that's where you get some of the disparities in the market. So we've always tried to address that, multiple price points, multiple densities, that really meet all different, from the first-time person right out of college that's got their startup job to someone who's looking to move up and, you know, in their careers and in their housing stock.
Well, case in point on that jobs housing balance, I mean, just this week the City Council approved a new high-density development, apartment complex actually, that's going to be part of California Center. And that was basically because of a court order, because Pleasanton didn't plan for housing and there are too many jobs in this community. You've maintained local control in Dublin. You haven't gotten crossways with the state because you have provided that housing.
Yeah, we have, but we've also provided a lot of jobs too. You know, the Dublin Corporate Center at Dublin Boulevard in Tassajara is now fully leased. You know, and you've got a lot of high-tech companies that are in that center. You know, so we've got Ross moving their corporate headquarters to Dublin. You know, near, you know, behind SAP. You know, so we really try to do both. You have to do both. You have to plan for vibrant commercial sectors, and that Veterans Housing Project, which I'm really proud of, also includes a huge commercial corridor right on the corner of Dublin Boulevard and Golden Gate. So it becomes, so you'll have a plaza right on that corner, and then you'll have it lined with commercial all along Dublin Boulevard and down into Golden Gate. So if you want to create gathering points, and, you know, we've talked about the downtown for years, and that's part of it. You know, you've got the veterans housing behind it, but then you have that commercial corridor in front for people to really gather and create some vibrancy.
I want to come back to the commercial corridor in a second, but let's talk about schools briefly. I know that that's a subject near and dear to your heart because your day job is you're an educator. When we think about all the housing that's been developed in Dublin, you talk about the 1-to-1 housing jobs balance. What about school capacity? I know that there's concerns in this town, maybe founded, maybe unfounded, that more housing in Pleasanton is going to put a burden on the school system. What about Dublin? Do you have the school capacity to accommodate the new demand that the new residential development is going to bring?
Well, yes, in the long term. There are some short-term challenges, I know, with some of the elementary schools in the next 2 years, and that has caused some concern, but it really is temporary concerns. You know, we might have portables for a year or two, but long-term, which is a concern, and I understand that, but long-term, the school growth has definitely been keeping up with that and with the residential growth. In Dublin High School in particular, I mean, it is an entirely brand new school at this point. I mean, there's literally not a single classroom, and I went to Dublin High School, it's not a single classroom that exists from when I went to school, not one. I mean, it's completely rebuilt. So if people want to go to a new high school, if you have buyers and they're interested in the new technologies that a new high school brings, Dublin High School it's a brand new high school.
let's go back to that commercial corridor, the discussion about some changes around, I'm going to say it, I'm going to use the D word, downtown. So that the standard question you probably get is, where is downtown Dublin?
Well, I mean, the area that we're building out right now is where the BART station is, the West Dublin BART station. You know, from there to Amador Valley Boulevard, and then Village Parkway, and then Santa Monica Road. So, I mean, I mentioned how the Crown Chevrolet site, which is an eyesore right off Dublin Boulevard, how that's being converted. That's just one project. And we're doing a lot of other small projects, like where you see, I mean, well, number one, and you've seen all the different vacancies that we had in the downtown. For the most part, have been filled in the last couple of years. And now what we're trying to do is rebuild out some of those parking lots. For instance, where Sprouts is on the corner there, because it's overparked, we're looking at a Habit Burger and a Freebirds burrito shop. You know, so just examples. Not that that's fine dining, but it's the idea that we're trying to take underutilized spaces in the downtown, which, you know, vacant parking lot. We have a lot of underutilized land, and create activity in those spaces. The dealership is a perfect example of that. Now we're looking at retail on the ground floor right there at the intersection. And we're trying to do that in other places. We just approved a facade improvement grant for Village Parkway, so those old tilt-ups, where the city's going to provide matching money with the property owners to get those old facades improved. We've waived the parking standards on Village Parkway, so before where we couldn't get restaurants, now we actually can get restaurants because of the parking, you know, because in a downtown you have to accept that you're not necessarily going to park right in front of the exact destination. I mean, anyone familiar with the downtown does that. So we have antiquated parking codes that really, we said we have these goals for vibrancy, but we have legal parking codes that wouldn't allow that. So a lot of it's just dealing with the mechanics and dealing with the CC&Rs of the various properties down there. I literally went down to Los Angeles to meet with the property owners of the Dublin Place Center where the Target is, talk to them about the opportunities that exist within that downtown area. And, you know, you have a lot of different CC&Rs that are from the 60s and 70s, and part of it is, it's really an unsexy job, to be honest, but untangling CC&Rs is about as deep in the weeds as you can possibly get. But that's what we're doing right now to try to, you know, to allow different things to occur in that area.
So let's talk about results. You've got the housing, you've got the jobs, you've got the schools. Are you having any fun? Is there any fun to be had in Dublin?
Well, I think there's a lot of fun. And we talk a lot about building Cadillacs when it comes to our public parks and facilities. And I think in the last few years, I don't think there's anywhere in the state that in the last few years has built a community center like we did with Shannon, that's built a heritage park like we did with the moving of the Cole properties. So you have, and then you have the Fallon Sports Park, which is, you know, one of the nicest sports parks in the drive.
That thing's mind blowing. If you haven't been out to the Fallon Sports Park, you've got a cricket pitch. Is that what it's called? Is it a pitch or what's it called?
It is called a pitch. Good job with the
I had coffee.
That's it. But you know, I would say the other thing. So those are things in the last few years. But just at our last council meeting, we went ahead with the design, the conceptual design for an indoor-outdoor aquatics facility. So we're building that in Emerald Glen Park. So we're going to be the only city in the area that has indoor year-round aquatics. So we'll have an indoor pool, then we're going to have a splash pool with slides and almost like a mini water park, and then we're going to have a sports pool next to that for CIF-sanctioned competitive sports where you could have water polo, where you could have championship meets. So that's all going to be right in the heart of Emerald Glen Park. So I mean, you know, when you look at those types of things, you know, the library, the senior center, you know, we really pride ourselves. We're doing a ribbon cutting tomorrow for Positano Hills Park. You know, we pride ourselves on our public facilities. I think we have some of the nicest parks around. We do high-quality neighborhood parks. We do high-quality regional parks. And I think the Indoor-Outdoor Aquatic Center in Emerald Glen is a great example of that. And I think the programming as well. You know, a lot of cities have farmers markets. We do ours. We wanted to